even your everyday recreational runner, they'll go buy these shoes and get away with running for some people a week, some people a year, some people 5 years. The body is goddamn resilient. But the thing is to a point. And these little whispers of pain start to come along, and as Aussies, we just go, oh, I should be right, mate. But those whispers get louder and louder and louder until something blows, where it's the knees, the ankles, the hip, etc.
You're right.
I was going to say, and then like we have professionals like Mick that are very hit with his running, and we can then have more of our community in all of these aspects, you know, whether it's running, whether it's, you know, breath work, or whether it's chiropractic. We can sort of combine this more holistic approach, which makes complete sense, you know, going forward. So be primal, be healthy.
I just want to take a second to thank you. Yes, you listening or watching. This podcast is a love project. I absolutely love getting the guests on, learning about their life, what makes them successful, so then you can take that and implement it into your life, so you can live a long, healthy, happy, successful life as well. So in return, all I ask is you just pay it on. So however you come across this podcast, I want you to pay that on. So if a friend shared it with you, share it with another friend. If a family member shared it with you, share it with another family member. If you found it on social media, share a post, comment, something on social media. However you found it, this podcast, just pay it on, and you do that, and I'll keep getting the guests on and giving you this amazing content. Again, appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing, and let's get back to the episode. I appreciate you all coming on. When I first reached out to BPRIMAL, I just wanted somebody to come on and talk about barefoot shoes. About 3 years ago now, I swapped to barefoot shoes because I just had so much pain through my Achilles, through my feet, and I just could not get rid of it. Everything I did, like a rolling, massage, dry needling, everything, and it just wouldn't go away. And then swapped to barefoot shoes. Within 2 or 3 days, pain was gone, just non-existent. I could not believe it. And ever since on the podcast, I've always been raving about them and trying to get as many people into barefoot shoes as possible. And I always get questions. So I appreciate you all coming on, and I feel like I've got assembled the Avengers of barefoot shoes.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's
Do you want, just so the audience can know who they're listening to or watching, do you want to just go through and introduce yourselves real quick and what you do?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jamie Wilson. I'm one of the co-owners and founders of BPRIMAL. We first discovered functional footwear sort of back around 2014, and my experience was sort of, I was in construction, wearing heavy work boots every day, and also playing a lot of sports from my youth. So I had a lot of issues with my feet. So as far as from football boots and soccer boots as well. So it eventually led me down the path of there has to be some answers, and there's got to be a better way, basically. So yeah, currently I lead the team of BPRIMAL, minimalist and functional footwear advocates, and we're a husband and wife team, so it goes hand in hand.
Yeah. And I'm Faye. I'm Jamie's wife. So together we work together every day, which has its challenges also. But we love what we do. We love everything about barefoot shoes and educating people and changing lives, because the amount of people that come to us with issues and that can't walk or are in constant pain, and as soon as making the switch, they're like, oh my God, I can walk again. It's just, it's amazing.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Mick?
there's definitely something in that as well,
That big talk.
Yeah, cool. So I'm Mick. I own Melbourne Soft Tissue Therapy here in Melbourne. I have my own clinic now for 6 years, and I'm within my brother's CrossFit gym, CrossFit Soul Rebel in Thornbury. And I've also got a branch of my business called Natural Born Running, where I coincide the treatment I do through myotherapy with re-teaching people how to run, basically the natural way of running that most of us are kind of lost today. And it's certainly something I've seen over the years as a coach and myotherapist that shoes are just probably the number one change that can just help people out of pain. Like Faye and Jamie's story, like there's so many people come to them for shoes to get out of pain straight away. And it's the first thing I really educate all my clients on. And it's funny, I've got this awful habit of when I meet someone new, I look straight down at their shoes because I can see exactly what's going on with them through their shoes. And I don't just treat people out of pain, it's more of an educational side of thing. I could say 99% of the time that I've explained the whole barefoot route, minimalist shoes, getting the strength and mobility back in the feet, people are just blown away because they just don't know. And it's certainly a stereotype that needs to change, that get away from all these massive marketing ads from Nike, Adidas, the big brands who just want to make money and they don't really care about people's feet and they actually don't know what feet look like. It's
Mhm.
crazy. And the amount of people I can get on board by just explaining for a few minutes about what your feet are doing in these modern day shoes and how they're affecting everyday performance. And it's not just in sport, it's everyday life because we've all known someone with some sort of plantar fasciitis and it's detrimental. It's absolutely debilitating for a lot of people. And the answers that should be out there are not out there. And more people need to know more about their feet and what they can do, and basically the foot prisons that they're wearing all day long. And that's the
Mm.
journey I'm on through my myotherapy and my running coaching.
Mm.
Mm.
Love it. Back to you, Jamie. You were saying, like, obviously you've come through a transition of a lot of pain, found the shoes, and
Yeah.
then started BPRIMAL. Just go back to the earlier days. Like, what was that 2014? Was there much out there in the sense of barefoot shoes?
No, not really. There was very little, I mean, brands on the market, that actually had yeah, natural foot shape, last and what they're, making. So
Five Fingers was really the only thing around at that time, which
that's
was
right.
like, well, I mean, there was a few brands, obviously, because we did get brands in from overseas, but they were nobody really knew about them at
Mm.
all. And everyone, if you said anything about barefoot shoes, it was they knew Five Fingers. Oh, those funny shoes that look like fingers,
Mm.
Yeah.
that was all that was really out in the market at the time.
So there was, yeah, very little in the market, that was actually, yeah, like, foot shaped. Um, and then I think the other part is like, footwear that's functional and fit for purpose. Um, So yeah, we went down the avenue of, yeah, investigating, what was out there in the world and what was, what brands that we could work with to offer more. And
There's a lot now.
there's a lot now. It's come a long way, especially in the last, 3 years. And it's also, I think, you know, it's the whole education side. We don't realize, as we're growing up, obviously transitioning from being, a baby who's crawling to first, walking, we already have these patterns, these natural movement patterns, built into us, but, sedentary, lifestyle tends to change that over time. Um, and yeah, what we find is then at some point in people's lives, they'll discover, hey, what's going on? They sort of awaken to, let's try and see the root cause. And as Nick was explaining before, it all starts with the feet, coming up through the rest of the body. Um, and yeah, we would like to be able to cater obviously the footwear for every activity in every lifestyle. That's the goal, so that people can move freely.
Mm.
Um,
I think back in 2014, or even up to a few years ago, it was still very limited with what was available, and especially for women, because there was a lot of I guess money invested in the active market. So running shoes or gym shoes, things like that. But for women to change their footwear, it has to be something that's a little bit fashionable as well. If you're going to get people, it's what are they wearing to work every day? They're in shoes for 8 hours a day at work. it's more important than your 1 hour run that you're going to after work, or going to the gym for an hour. So, it's definitely come a long way now with what's available. There's so many more brands on the market, and they really do cater for everyone. There's some really pretty women's shoes available now, which is like every time there's more of those available, it's like, great, we can get more fashion conscious people on board as well.
Yeah.
And they were certainly, I would say they weren't necessarily very attractive at the start. And, a lot of people be like, oh, they're like clown shoes, but they've definitely come a long way. And a lot of people now, if you're wearing a barefoot shoe, just looking at it, you wouldn't even know. So
Yeah.
I think they're very much a coined, term, barefoot shoes, that's very much a sort of a bit of like a buzzword. I think we try and, talk about it more in, natural foot shape, because everyone's foot shape's different as well. And yeah, the footwear that you're, wearing should cater for your foot shape, for it to function, adequately. So
Yeah.
yeah, we've gone a whole sort of full circle of going, hey, let's look at not just obviously retailing these brands, into, Australia, New Zealand, and let's look at like, our youth and our children, and where it first initially starts. So it was always, close to our heart. We've got 3 children, and as their, feet develop, we want to protect that. So there was let's see where the first, issue starts, which is at school.
well, when they start walking,
We go to school, we get into, a rigid school shoe. And again, we're, sitting in class, and then we go out to play at lunchtime, and the kids' feet are constantly being, misshaped and damaged. So there's a lot in letting kids' feet develop naturally, along with their own sensory development as well.
Yeah, definitely. Mick, can you touch on that a little bit more? Because it's crazy that, kids are just forced into these shoes, and it literally will shape their foot for the rest of their life. So can you just touch on how that will affect people later on in life?
Yeah, for sure. And to add on to what the guys are saying there, it really does start the moment any toddler starts walking. And unfortunately for the majority of parents, they put their kids into the new Adidas Yeezys because they're fashionable, or the Connies or whatever, because they want the kids to look cute. Um, but unfortunately, kids' feet, or anyone's feet, they don't stop growing until they're about 18 years old. And the vast majority of these toddler shoes, kids' shoes, they are just not foot shaped. And they're squishing their toes into these shoes. They're stiffening up all the tissues, all the muscles, making all the feet muscles and tissues dormant, because all this cushion, all this stability, everything that's put into this shoe, this technology that they think is going to advance us, is taken away from the beautiful structure that we already have in our feet. It's probably the most amazing piece of machinery we all have. 26 bones, 33 joints, 100 plus muscles. But as soon as you put it into a rigid shoe, it turns into one joint. It stops moving. You stop wiggling your toes because, again, the most toe box are going to a point. The moment that big toe gets pushed in, it's hard to develop a good strong arch. It's hard to get posterior chain engagement through glutes, hamstrings, etc. So a lot of the pain goes up ankles, knees, lower back, spine, you name it. And even just these little heel raisers that are in shoes. There is absolutely not one benefit to any heel raise in any shoe whatsoever, unless you want to look a little bit taller. And don't get me wrong, high heels for ladies, cool, look great. Odd occasion, awesome, nothing wrong with that. But when you're wearing them all day long, it is completely changing your body's makeup, your body's posture, your proprioception, all of that. And it disconnects us from Mother Nature, from the ground. No one's born with shoes on their feet. Be very weird if they were, and it's never going to happen. So for some reason in the health and fitness wellness space, feet are treated completely different to the rest of the body. Especially if you got foot pain, we go to podiatrists. They're the foot doctors and they're the ones that are going to fix you. But again, unfortunately, the majority of them give you a stiff stability shoe, orthotic, something like that to help mask the pain.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm.
We always say, that you want to treat the symptom, not the cause.
Exactly.
So, and we want to change that.
Yeah. And what was I going to say then? The pain, we're just getting rid of pain. We're treating the symptoms. We're not treating the main cause of what's going on. Because I say this all the time, if someone came to me in the clinic with lower back pain, I'm not going to give them a back brace. And that's exactly what a lot of people are doing with podiatrists and orthotics. Yes, in some cases they need them, but only on a very short-term basis. But then most people are never given a journey out of them.
Mm.
Because you can mobilize, strengthen, stretch your feet as much as any other part of your body. But again, for some reason, knee down is treated completely different to the rest of our bodies. And it needs to change. And when people realize this, like I literally got a message from a new client I've had the last couple of days doing some footwork, and she said, "This is amazing. My feet feel springy." Once you expose them to the potential they have hidden in their feet, it's life-changing. It really is. And it starts with toddlers.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like it is literally life changing, but it's hard to convince people because I find, like, I guess you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of my clients who I get to switch over to barefoot shoes or just try to go barefoot for a little bit, they get pain in their arches or they're getting pain here and there. And it's trying to educate them that could be a bit of the process of just strengthening up those muscles and
Yeah.
getting used to moving your feet again.
Absolutely.
That's right.
There is definitely a transition process for the majority of people, and it could be a year, it could be 18 months, it could be even longer potentially, depending how sedentary they are and, how, yeah, I guess the condition of their feet. But, some people will never be able to go into thin barefoot shoes, but they can still go into something that's healthy, as in has a wide toe box so that their toes can spread out and that is flat, and that eventually they can work on their arch so that they don't need arch support, but something where it's flexible as well so that their muscles can move and tendons and everything, and that they can feel the ground. And especially as you get older, the amount of people that have balance issues and elderly people that have falls, if they could actually, the shoes that they're wearing are
Well, it's quite common. You see someone who, is leaning forward, obviously a postural change and they're shuffling, they're not really walking. They're not mindfully, stepping one foot after the other, I think that's the other thing. We lose that connection of being mindful, with our lower body and, because it's way down there, we forget about it, don't we? Or like, it's just the forgotten, even with foot issues, people don't really tend to take care of their feet too well.
I think people sort of expect that foot pain is normal, and it's not. Like the amount of people that just like, oh yeah, I've got plantar fasciitis. Oh yeah, I've had that too. Like, and just you just roll your feet out and it'll be all right. It's crazy that people normalize it.
It's so normalized.
Feel in pain walking around. It's just.
And people should be able to, move pain free, and I think part of that as well as as they're getting older, they should be able to, well, we're going for longevity, aren't we? We're going for mobility and longevity, like long term, that's the result, so and the footwear is obviously traditional footwear is dictating a lot of the outcomes.
The way I like to explain to most people is when they want to start transitioning, and yes, it's hard, and yes, it can still be painful, and people try to go barefoot for a few hours and they can't. You like it is pretty much taking your feet to the gym for the first time. We've all had a first session in the gym. We pull up really sore. We don't want to go back. It sucks. And it's the exact same because you're waking up these dormant tissues and muscles within your feet. They're going to respond, they're going to react because the body's going, what the hell have you just done to me? Where's my safety, cushion, rigid shoe.
Mm.
Now you've exposed it to this new environment, and the tissues are going to respond because the body hates change. It gets very just happy and convenient with its life. So when you
Mhm.
expose it to something new by simply going barefoot, it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. But it's that tiny little hurdle to push through, just like, right, you can't just go to the gym once. You've got to go in a couple of days again. You've got to go day after day. And like the guys were saying, it is a transition. But the thing is, you're not going to cause any more pain or damage just by walking around barefoot. There's extreme cases, of course, which are very rare, but simply getting out of the shoes just as you go and treating it slowly and gradually and listening to your body, creating that awareness, what Jamie was talking about, which most people have none because of the shoes, because of sedentary lifestyle. We're so disconnected from our bodies that we just don't know what's going on. And there's 250,000 nerves in the bottom of each foot. They're the stuff that tells the rest of the body what to do. So if you haven't got your feet playing along, you've got no idea what you're doing for the rest of your body.
100%. And all right, so we've convinced people that they should be paying more attention to their feet. Where should they be starting? Strengthening exercises, shoes, accessories. Where should people go next or think about going next?
So the first off, depending on like, I mean, it's great to, be able to change all your footwear, but however, we like to say, look, if you're starting at one place, particular, it is going for something that's, wide toe box, is a must. Lightweight, and depending on how your feet respond to being barefoot, as well. And a lot of people will know because especially, Australians, we tend to get around in, thongs a lot. So we're quite, barefoot,
In Queensland.
in Queensland anyway. Sorry, but yeah. But we tend to, so sorry, our sort of culture, but so we can get some of those healthy properties in, footwear that's more of like a transition footwear, so, brands like, Ultra, Lems, and they have a, slightly higher stack height, but they still have, lovely wide toe box.
Which is how thick the sole is. So it's, you're getting a little bit more cushioning to start with. And there is some things that you can use, such as like some insoles, the transition as well. Not everyone can go straight from being up on an angle like this with a heel to being flat. So straight away. So we do have some insoles and things like that as well. It can help with that transition process. But really going gradually is a good idea.
Yeah.
And definitely 100%, the strengthening is really, really important, because you need that strength in order for your foot to function basically the way that you want it to function. And if you want to go down to a help to be able to walk on the beach barefoot without pain, which I'm sure everyone wants to be at that level, it's what you have to do. So Mick can probably go through some of the exercises that you could do to start out.
Yeah, it's definitely not the quickest of transitions, and it's very hard in today's society where you've got to do a little bit of work to get there. It's not just something you can just put the shoes on and expect it to happen. So it's simple stuff, the classic rolling out the bottom of the foot with a mobility ball, not an ice bottle, which most people are told to do, which is the worst thing ever. And it's basically just getting that connection back from the toes to the body, because the toes become so squished and stiff that if you cannot independently move your toes, you're not going to be able to move the ankle, calves, get the glutes involved, etc. So the three things I give to all my clients, it's rolling out the bottom of the foot, toe yoga, which is literally intertwining your fingers between your toes and moving them, getting all the cricks and the cracks out. And then one thing that is quite forgotten about is actually the top of the foot. We give the bottom of the foot a lot of love, but we forget about the top. So it's getting your fingers and massaging between the bones of your toes. It's freaking painful, but that will help unlock a lot of the blood flow and nerve supply back to the toes. So once you got those toes moving again, that's going to get all the muscles up the shin working, and again all the way up the posterior to the glutes. So three very simple exercises that can be done in front of the TV in an evening. But if you want to get there quicker, you do a little bit more. And there are hundreds of awesome exercises I could run through, and it will get you there a lot quicker. So again, going back to what I said before, a lot of people worry about their gym shoes or their running shoes when it is their everyday shoe that they wear. The most common is going to be their shoe they need to address, your casual shoe, your work shoe, etc.
Yeah.
Alongside just a little bit of strength work, and it can be quite an easy transition if they want to do it, and that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. We have some, we've had some, people in our community that have just gone straight into, more minimal footwear, depending on how their feet respond and how, how active, their foot muscles are. And yeah, they're happy enough not have to, transition. But I think there's a few factors that go in, age and, what your, exercise regime is like, and, your fitness level as well, all ties into it.
And as you get older, I think you lose a lot of the padding in the bottom of your feet as well. So I think, as you know, for quite elderly people, they will struggle going into a very minimal shoe. But there is options for everyone. We have, like, as I said, other brands like Ultra and Lambs that have more cushioning, but they still have all the other healthy properties. So there is really shoes that everyone can
go
cater
straight
for
into.
everyone.
Yeah. And then you just listen to your feet, like as you're, wearing, the natural shape footwear, go for, 2 hours or so. How are my feet feeling after this? Are they fatigued? Do I need to have a little bit of, rest? Because sometimes, when you're just a little bit exhausted, you might need to, get off the feet for a bit, and then you're good to go again. So it's all about that balance between, the two. And then as you become, I guess, more active in the footwear, then you can go for extended periods of time. You can then maybe go into, more specific, like running or, gym, footwear, depending on what your activity. And then, we basically, help with that as well, finding that, perfect fit and perfect shoe for your foot shape as well, because that's the other important thing.
Can we touch on, I guess, certain exercises, certain things you're doing to the shoes? Because I got a couple of examples. People standing all day at a reception or whatever, and then they get the pads to stand on, that sort of thing. I guess that would be a transition period of, slowly getting off the pad, accepting there's a bit of pain there, and, going into the barefoot shoes and all that sort of stuff. Also running.
Running's well,
one of
Mick,
the
I'm sure, can explain a lot more than that, but running is certainly a different kettle of fish altogether, because that comes down to running technique as well. Hey, Mick.
Exactly.
Yeah. So sorry, go Mick.
No,
Oh,
you're
Jamie.
right. I was just going to say, also about mindful walking, like before, sort of, like, and we see it in children, like, patterns as you walk, and, a lot of, kids and people also have hypermobility as well, which is, a discussion for another day as well with that. But, I think, we need to, train ourselves to move the right way.
Mindful of a lot of people have to learn how to walk again. They realize that the way that they're walking is not effective. And especially going from really cushioned shoes, you really don't have an option except heel striking, because there's so much cushion there. Whereas when you should be walking barefoot, you should be midfoot strike and then rolling up off the big toe. But a lot of people have to train themselves to walk
Because
correctly again.
traditional footwear has changed the way we walk, basically the way we move. Obviously, with the elevated heel, we've got we've got more pressure on your midfoot and your toes. The elevated heels shortening our Achilles over time as well, which is then obviously traveling up the body to our lower back, hamstring issues and whatnot. And also, yeah, obviously knee issues as well. So yeah, there's a lot in that. Nick probably knows a lot, can add in a bit more detail about cadence and the importance, yeah, of how we run. And people that would be transitioning, let's say, from an Asics or a Brooks or something into an ultra type shoe.
Yeah, running is certainly a whole different topic for sure. And like Faye said, most of it will come down to your running technique. And the thing I'll always say to people though is you can still run perfectly in any pair of shoes, no matter how much cushion, heel stack, all of that. The thing is, the modern day running shoes, these super shoes, allow for poor technique, and they promote poor technique because of these massive cushions on the heels that your heel has to hit first because it's in the way. Um, so a lot of even your everyday recreational runner, they'll go buy these shoes and get away with running for some people a week, some people a year, some people 5 years. The body is goddamn resilient. But the thing is to a point. And these little whispers of pain start to come along, and as Aussies, we just go, "Oh, she'll be right, mate." And but those whispers get louder and louder and louder until something blows, whereas the knees, the ankles, the hip, etc. So the thing with running is we tend to run the way we live. It's not about running, it's actually about what are you doing for the rest of your day. And again, it's not looking at the running shoe, it's looking at your everyday shoe. It's not looking about your running techniques, looking at how's your life? Are you sedentary? Are you stuck at a desk all day long? Are you running driving around all day long? How much do you move? And going back to your original question of having to stand all day at work, we're still not designed to stand all day. So that's where a little bit of cushion can come in handy because most people are unfortunately very weak, very lazy, immobile, and we are just efficiently lazy in a way. So this is where, oh, but I stand all day. I need some support. I need some cushion. Yeah, a little bit, but you need to support yourself through strength. And the biggest thing about running today is you look at these races, 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, etc. They're all made up sports. The human body was never designed to run 10K straight. Definitely not marathon straight. We look at the origin story of marathon. A soldier in the Greek army had to run the length of a marathon back to the city of Marathon to tell, I can't remember the exact story, but tell the other people that the war was over. He died on the spot because he ran, what, 26 miles straight up. And we do it to celebrate ourselves today, which is just crazy. Because the thing is, the human body evolved to be the most efficient runner on the planet. Never the fastest, just the most efficient. Because back then, caveman days, we did hunter-gathering, persistent hunting, where we would chase our prey to death. It may take an hour, may take 10 hours, but we could keep going and going and going because we evolved to be able to do that. We evolved to sweat to keep our temperature auto-regulated. Unlike an animal, it's like when a dog overheats, it starts panting, has to stop. Humans can keep going because we sweat. So we run our prey to death through a run, sprint, walk, sprint, jog, walk, kind of like interval training. That's where we excel. But so many people train their way up to a marathon and get these big cushioned shoes to get them there quicker, but destroy their body in the process because they just
That's
have
right.
no awareness of their body and no understanding of how to be strong in the right places. We add this technology to an already awesome body that can be done itself. So everybody has the potential inside of them to run a marathon. It just takes a lot of goddamn work to do it pain-free. And nobody's willing to do that. They want the quick fix. They want the pills. They want the shoes. They want the technology because we have no delayed gratification anymore. We want that instant gratification now. And we can thank social media for that. Very passionate about this stuff.
Consumerism, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and it sucks, but like you guys are changing the narrative. Like you said, a couple of years ago, barefoot shoes didn't even really exist. It was like the toe shoes, and now, like you said, there's a lot more options. They're looking better, which is a big thing that I get when I'm trying to get people in it. They look terrible, but there are some good looking shoes out there now.
100%. There's very fashionable ones.
What's some biggest misconceptions when people do try and, like, obviously other than the look, what's the biggest misconceptions that people are sort of seeing when they're transitioning into the shoes or about barefoot shoes?
I think
I think it comes back to the fashion side of things. People get
100%.
we're so vain. It's ridiculous. And feet, again, treated so different to the rest of the body. We don't like going against the norm. And especially where it's most important for kids in high school or younger. I remember back in high school when the new school shoe came out, which was no laces. There was no way in hell I was going to be the first one to buy them. It's social suicide.
Yeah.
And even in adulthood, it kind of is. You don't want to be the first because we care too much what other people think of us, which is just stupid. Just a pair of shoes. It's society that's just screwed up our minds, really. And I think that is the biggest challenge we face. Like Faye said before, they're clown shoes. But anybody I've ever seen go in them for the first time, like, oh, these feel weird, but they feel next day they feel amazing.
Yeah.
When you said before about misconceptions, I just wanted to mention about arch support because I think that this is a really important thing to talk about. And so a lot of people think that they need arch support in shoes. And the reason that they need arch support is because their arch is weak, and that if they don't have the arch support, then they feel pain through that because it's not strong enough to support the arch. But it's hard to get that out of people's brains. I think when it comes to barefoot shoes, because there is no support, it turns off a lot of people. Go, oh, but I need arch support. I need my orthotics. I need, but what we try to explain to people is it's like a cast. If you're wearing arch support, your arch is not functioning, and it's like you having a cast on your arm. It can't work effectively. So it does take time to strengthen the arch, but it's not required in shoes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Mick was saying before, like if you get back pain, you're not going to put a brace on it. But if you get foot pain, you're straight into a brace.
Yeah.
And atrophy sets in. So
it doesn't work. From a toddler, every shoe has arch support built in.
And it's the norm. It's the norm we've kind of had over so many years, like because podiatrists are the foot experts, like GPs are the health experts, and so many people still go to GPs for lower back pain or knee pain. Here's some anti-inflammatories. Go and rest. That is what the vast majority of people still believe in. And so why would I go to a podiatrist and not believe what they say? Because they're the professionals.
But that's what they've been taught as well.
Exactly.
So this is coming from, they're getting taught this at university. This is the way we treat people. And this is the, the reasons behind it and stuff, but it doesn't make sense. It's just crazy.
It's society being stuck in a system, isn't it? It's, and I think one thing now, like post-COVID, everyone's very, health conscious and more aware. I think, and they realize, a lot of people now realize that it's very worthwhile to invest in your health, So yeah, we want to change that. We want to challenge, the the professionals in the industry out there that, there are better ways. And that's through education. There is, there's that many scientific, studies that have been done that, need, recognition. I think it was 2021 to do with, barefoot shoes and increasing foot strength. I think there was, don't quote me on the exact time frame, but I think it was
6 months.
6 months. Yeah, that their foot strength had increased, by
60%.
60%.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
phenomenal when you think about that. That stat alone. So that was years ago, and there's been more studies done, but often brushed to the side. So yeah, we're here to change that and to challenge that, and we want to help educate and also take people through the journey of that there's a better way, because their feet deserve better.
Mm. And I think you're doing it, like I said, I think you're doing a great job at that. And it's definitely getting better and better. And more people are getting aware and aware. I know, like we've just spoken about, it's kind of shit how, I guess foot industry, shoes, all that sort of stuff have just captured it and just stopped us from moving forward. Like, again, less is more when it comes to this sort of stuff, just minimal shoes, bare feet,
Mm.
all that sort of stuff. But we're just, I guess, convinced, tricked, influenced into wearing big, squishy shoes that look good.
Mhm.
But if you could control every single Australian, they had to do one thing that you said every single day, one thing only, what would you get every Australian to do starting tomorrow?
Oh.
I would start with just rolling out the bottom of your foot.
Mm.
Mm.
Every day.
Every day. You do that twice a day, every day for 6 months, you'll have no pain in the bottom of your feet.
And you said before about the frozen water bottle and not to do that. Why is that?
Well, ice, again, is something that we've been taught for years. The good old rice principle, rest, ice,
Mm.
compression, elevation. The doctor who coined the term reneged on it.
Yeah.
Put his hand up, said he was wrong. And it's still taught in first aid courses today. You
Mm.
still see on the sidelines of the footy fields, the physios putting the ice on their knees. The ice is numbing the area. It's stopping the blood flow. Yes,
Mm.
ice will help with pain. Cool. If you're in a shitload of pain, ice it. Cool. But you've got to get it moving. You've got to get the blood flow to repair the tissue damage. So rolling out the bottom of your foot with an ice bottle, yes, it's going to feel nice. Of course it is, because it numbs the pain. But it's never going to fix the issue. Again, masking the symptoms.
Mm.
Mm. And there's some more education to do with, like, the toe spaces, and we're a advocate for correct toes here at BPRIMAL, and that's to do with, obviously, alignment, metatarsal alignment, and then obviously, you know exercising in a toe spacer so that the alignment is true, and then over time we build up strength, in our feet, with the proper alignment as well. Um, so I think that's very important. Back onto what you said before, Jack, what's one thing you do? Similar to what Mick was saying about even just, rolling and letting the feet, move and function the way they're intended. And I think too, like when you wake up in the morning, I think it's that first movement. Let's get up and prepare the body for the movement. So whether that's some deeper sort of squatting, primal, right down to the ground and letting our body stretch, and then going back up to a standing, just a routine that gets the body to move the way it's intended. I think that's very important, because along with that we then start to reconnect with these our lower limbs, and feel where we're having pain, or even stretching and moving. So I think daily movement, just is important. And then, that leads into, other things, other activities, like, going into footwear, or, sport, and our daily lifestyle, wearing the correct footwear for those activities.
Mm. Faye, you got an answer for me?
Just move.
Just move, yeah.
Move. Get
Yep.
moving.
So you did touch on a good, I'm just going to go into one more topic, maybe wrap it up after that. But the toe spreaders and all that sort of stuff, I think they're great. I'm wearing them right now.
Mm.
So, but people find they're weird. So when I first started going to barefoot shoes, all that sort of stuff, I wore the toe spreaders in there, and people thought I was crazy. Like the socks where each individual toe
Oh
can
yeah,
move.
toe socks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I was going to
game
touch on the
changer.
toe socks next, but
Yeah.
So people consider that weird that I do that, especially going back 3 years ago. So what's something that you do now that people might find weird, but that should be done? Like again, toe spreaders, the socks, all that sort of stuff should be done, but it's
yeah.
considered weird. So is there any sort of things you do with your feet, wake them up before you exercise, before you run, certain accessories you use that people might find weird?
Um, I mean, I always use my I've got cork rollers that I use, just to activate the feet. I often use those, even like, you know, if I have like a niggle, I'll then go back to then, like Mick said, rolling that out and treating the targeted area, under the foot, or even just to get some additional, sort of toe spread. I'll pop my correct toes on, for a couple of hours while I'm doing something else as well. And I don't know, I think toe socks, people tend to find toe socks quite bizarre, but they're extremely functional. Like
Mm.
they allow, the toes to be free, which is very important. Obviously, in a wide toe box shoe, which you have to have as well for that.
And don't knock them till you try 'em.
Yeah.
And even in non-wide toe box shoes, I think they're even more beneficial in non-wide toe box shoes, because it stops you getting blisters in between your toes when they're all cramped together. So I think they're for everyone. Honestly, they're the best thing since sliced bread. They're fantastic.
Well,
And everyone, I mean, I would say 99% of the people that come into our Sydney store, and we have ones they can try on there, and when they try them on, they're leaving with a few pairs.
Yeah.
Like they just
they may look weird, but they're
amazing.
very
Give 'em a
important
go.
for the foot to function. And also too, Jack, with wearing the toe spacers, if people find there's any rubbing with them wearing them inside footwear, then you slip the toe sock on, you slide the toe spacer on top of that, and you've got zero friction happening. And toe socks are vital for the runners. People they don't know they need them. That's the problem. Like, let's go and run, and there was a photo going across, I think, Runner's World the other day I saw, with a person post-run and taking their shoes off, and their feet were quite bloody, through the sock. And again, we've got, other, ill-fitting shoes, it's not quite the right fit. And the other thing that could have been prevented that would be, toe socks. So one
It's
for the
funny
runners
that
out there.
Yeah, it's funny that we call toe socks weird when they're exactly what a foot looks like.
Foot knees.
I
Yeah.
was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I wear nothing but toe socks and take them off in the gym downstairs here, and people look at them and it's like they are the most comfortable things ever. They're annoying to put on, of course, but once they're on, they never come off.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest thing I've noticed over the years, though, is when people do go towards the barefoot shoes, they forget about their socks. Because unfortunately, even socks are going to squish the toes.
Mm.
So you could be wearing all your barefoot shoes all day for years. If you're still wearing tight socks,
Yeah.
you're missing the point.
Yes.
Yes.
Very true.
And then you have toes that are curling, under, and all sorts of issues. And we obviously do a whole range of toe socks too, Jack, in there. Like to cater, we even do youth ones, like, because we realized it was important for our kids and at school to have toe socks. I know some of the schools obviously have to have, the school logo or, branded socks, but we sneak our kids into toe socks.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if any other parents can relate, but the amount of arguments in the morning about getting your shoes and socks on Okay, if you've ever had those arguments before, because kids hate putting their school shoes on. I wonder why. Like these kids get around barefoot all the time when they're at home, and then you're trying to cram their
Feet
feet
into
into
shoes
these
that are ill-fitting.
shoes that are just so uncomfortable. So there's that, and but we have so many. We've developed our own school shoes, by the way, because we found that there was a bit of a gap in the market for school shoes and affordable school shoes, because we think that everyone should be able to afford to put their kids in shoes that are healthy. So, but the amount of parents that have come back to us and said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like we no longer have any problems getting our kids into the shoes. And when they come home, they don't even want to take them off. So that's testament to it. But also the socks, same thing. Arguments with the kids about the socks, but get them into a pair of toe socks and they love it. Same thing. Mm.
Yeah, right. That's interesting. So obviously it's more around the pain that's causing them all day wearing the non-barefoot shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, most kids have beautiful foot, like,
That's natural foot
and
sway.
then they're having their feet crammed into these shoes, and it's crazy.
Mick, any final thoughts on feet, shoes, what people should be doing?
I think just being aware, getting them out of the modern day coffin shoes and just understanding the potential they have in their feet. And because especially now working with a lot more runners, instead of fixing their pain, they go for the shoe. What shoe can fix my plantar fasciitis? What shoe can fix my runner's knee? Instead of actually people being aware of their own body and connecting to themselves and understanding how to use your body. And the majority of it will start with the feet. And it's allowing the foot to do exactly what it was designed to do, to be free, to splay, to rebound and perform. And yeah, I'm yet to come across one person who doesn't agree.
I do agree 100%. And I wish people more, like I said, we were just repeating ourselves. I wish people would just sort of get away from those just mainstream shoes and get into the barefoot shoes.
Yeah.
Faye, Jamie.
And at the right time though, I think, Jack, not when it's too late,
Yep. Don't wait until your foot's cramping and in a lot of pain, you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'd say is we're doing our best to put shops on the ground so people can come and try shoes, but I know that is a barrier for a lot of people as well. I need to be able to try the shoes on. We try and make it as easy as possible for people to try them on at home, give them a good go, wearing them around inside, and, make it really easy for returns and exchanges if they need to. We offer instant exchanges. So if you've got the wrong size, you lodge it online and then we send you out the new pair before you've even sent the other ones back. So trying to make it as easy as possible to get as many people as we can into these shoes. But we do realise that people want to try them on. So yeah, we're doing our best to get shops on the ground, and Melbourne is next.
Melbourne is not far away. We're looking,
hopefully within the next couple of months we'll have a shop open.
Yeah.
And we're already got one in Sydney and Neutral Bay, and then Brisbane will be after that, and then we'll just keep opening up around the country. So
awesome. That was going to be my next question. When are you coming to Melbourne? Because again, a lot of clients just want to try the shoes on before they buy them. So
absolutely, we understand that.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to do a systematic, like an approach for people that, need to transition as well. So there's going to be a lot more education, and we're also going to be assisting, people with their foot health and then a starting point, and then, helping them, become more mobile and, active, and, educate into wearing the correct footwear for what they're doing daily.
Love it. BPRIMAL started online and then you've transitioned into
Yeah, online for 10 years. And then we've just opened our Sydney shop last year. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
And obviously, like we said, there's a growing need for it. So it sounds like it's going
Yeah.
good.
definitely.
Well, we've got,
It's a-
it's going quite well. We've got our own, obviously, footwear we've released our first version, kids school shoe and youth shoe, and a few different styles. And that's been out for a couple of years. We're just changing it slightly now. We've got a new version coming out in the next couple of months. We're also working on a work boot because that's obviously close to my heart. And yeah, trying to get that done. We're probably eight or 9 months in now, but still got a little bit to go because we really want to have obviously tradies in the correct footwear that's compliant, Australian New Zealand compliant and worldwide compliant. What else have we got going on? Quite a bit. Um, we've got obviously our toe sock range as well. Covering all aspects of performance toe socks for runners. We've got merino wool toe socks for the outdoor hiking. And we've got a Pilates toe sock coming out pretty soon too, with some grippers and that. So keep
Nice.
that community happy as well.
How do you go about designing a shoe? Like, it sounds hard. Like,
Yeah, it is.
what?
It's very difficult with this because it's not obviously mainstream, and the manufacturers do the natural foot shape is few and far between.
it's a big, very long process and trial and error. And then, it's, it's not easy.
No. Well, I'm glad you're doing it.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we clock off? Where can people find you and learn more about you guys? I guess BPRIMAL and Mick as you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you go, Mick.
I'll go. I'm at natural_born_running on Instagram. That's the best place to find me, or melbournesofttissue.therapy.com.au. That's the clinic I'm at here in Thornbury.
I've been following some of your posts about running. Very useful, and I've been sending them to a lot of my clients as well. So,
excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you can find us on socials. It's BPRIMAL_AU for Instagram. Otherwise, on our website, www.bprimal.com.au. There's also a lot of, articles and content in the blog section there too for people to read and educate themselves. And you can also come in and see us when you're in Sydney. We're at Neutral Bay. We're just at 143 Military Road. And soon to be somewhere in Melbourne, possibly around Northcote is the whispers at the moment. So a little drop a hint there for everyone.
Very good. Awesome. Thanks again for coming on. I appreciate all your time. This has been great. I think people are going to get a lot out of this conversation, and I think it's going to convince a lot of people to transition into some barefoot shoes and out of the conventional shoe.
Yeah. Thank you for having us on, Jack. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it too. Thank you.
If I was to coach you for the next 30 days on your habits, your nutrition, your sleep, your fitness, do you think you'd feel like a new person? I see this all the time. People getting excited after watching a YouTube video, listening to a podcast or downloading a PDF. They have all this good information, but then they fail. A, because they don't know how to implement that information, or B, they haven't got anybody holding them accountable to implement that information in their day-to-day life. And that is exactly why I created the 30-day reset. So we can work together every single day for the next 30 days. I'm going to show you how to build a rock solid morning routine. Make a workout routine that fits into your life, that works for you instead of against you. how to eat for your goals without tracking calories. We're going to work on the fun stuff, stress management, sleep, and then we're going to build a strong mindset so these habits last well after the 30 days is done. Okay, and all this is just $30. $30 for the next 30 days, $1 a day. And I'm happy to give you a money back guarantee, because I'm happy to guarantee it because I know if you do every single day and work with me for the next 30 days, you will be a completely changed person. So again, if you get there and you're not, I'll give you your money back. I am obviously excited to help you in this next 30 days. So let's get started. Stop watching the YouTube videos, podcasts, all that sort of stuff. And let's just start making real change that lasts for the next 30 days and beyond. Okay, stop waiting. Let's get into it. Let's go.